SEC rivals meet this afternoon as number 1 ranked Auburn visits number 2 Alabama. It's the first AP 1 vs. 2 matchup since 2021 and the first time in AP poll history that 2 SEC teams square off as number 1 and number 2. It's the 6th time in poll history that a 1 vs. 2 matchup is between 2 schools from the same state, which has not happened since Memphis and Tennessee met back in 2008. Each of the previous 5 times, the number 2 ranked team won. And ironically enough, Auburn coach Bruce Pearl was the Vols head coach when they beat Memphis back in 2008. And should the Tigers win today, he would become the first head coach in AP poll history to win multiple 1 vs. 2 matchups on the road. Let's go on the road ourselves. Our coach Seth Greenberg is ready right now from Alabama. Good morning, Coach. What I love.
Shady is my people back here, but I'll tell you one thing. This is an incredible atmosphere. Number 1 versus number 2. You're talking about Auburn, Alabama. You're talking about a no-huddle offense of Alabama against kind of the triple option ground and pound of Janai Broome and Auburn. This will be an absolute classic.
What I love is that Coach Greenberg, you guys don't know this, I'm going to take you behind the curtain, was already coaching up the crowd. It's like 8 a.m. there, which is insane. Let's talk about this Alabama.
And they're very coachable.
Yeah, I see that. This Alabama transition offense is going to be key today. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, they average 90 points a game. They do it in a lot of different ways. They do it in transition on hit-aheads, and everyone thinks about the three-point shooting. They also do it by getting paint touches, kickouts, driving those closeouts, and getting into the paint. Getting to the free throw line, paint touches, getting to the rim. This is an explosive offense. And if you're looking by the numbers right there, it's 90 points a game. See how many three-point shots they shoot, but that's just part of it. They get to the free throw line. They get to the paint, score in the paint, and they get second shots because when they move the defense, all of a sudden now they're in position to get to the offensive glass. An explosive offense. Hit aheads, attack the basket, get to the paint. If the defense doesn't stop you, all of a sudden you're going to get to the front of the rim. I call it a no-huddle offense because they don't reset. They don't give the defense a chance to reset. Warp speed, run the floor, get paint touches, reverse the ball, and get a good shot. And if you miss it, they get to the offensive glass. This offense is absolutely explosive.
Absolutely explosive, and it seems like they have gotten better every single month. Coach, you told me early on Alabama is only going to go up, and that is exactly what they've done since December 4th. Alabama 15-1 and averaging almost 92 points a game, better than any other team in Division I. However, Auburn and Alabama, part of a projected 14 SEC teams that are projected to make the NCAA tournament, according to our own Joe Lunardi. How has this conference become the most dominant in college basketball?
It's not just the most dominant in college basketball. It's going to be the most dominant for moving forward in college basketball. Look, the SEC is good as everything. They're good at volleyball. They're good at gymnastics. They're obviously terrific at football. They're great at baseball. What happens? Your investment equals your expectation. The SEC is invested in college basketball, and they did it about 10 years ago. Or actually started with Mike Slive. What do I mean by investment? They invested in coaches. They invested in infrastructure. They invested in facilities. And when you bring world-class coaches and you give them the facilities and the resources they need, what happens is what we're seeing now in the SEC. And this is 1 versus 2. This is not going to be a one-off. The SEC in basketball isn't going anywhere. Each and every night, we're seeing top 5 games, top 10 games, top 15 games. The games aren't games in the SEC in college basketball now. They are absolutely events. And this event today is absolutely no joke. It's the hard hat mentality, transition offense of Alabama, and the physicality and the ground and pound, and Janai Broome, maybe the player of the year from Auburn. This will be absolutely incredible. And you know what we're going to do here? What are we going to do here? Here we go! I think these folks are ready to rock and roll. This is going to be a classic game tonight.
So good, Coach. You told me they were coachable, and you are right. I see Jerry Jones catching a stray in the background there, too.
Wait a second. I got to get my
there
hard
you
hat
go.
on. I got to be ready to go.
You got no hair to ruin.
This game's not for marshmallows. You better compete. The hard hat is what it's all about.
He's got no hair to ruin. It's perfect. Selection Sunday, 1 month from tomorrow.
It's
Remarkable.
perfect.
I love it.
I'm good.
You're good. Coach, thank you. We appreciate it.
Today is the 169th time that the Tigers and the Tide have faced off in the AP poll era. However, their first time doing so both as top 5 teams Their 168 previous meetings are the most between two teams prior to their first top 5 matchup. There have been 2 top 5 matchups in the Iron Bowl on the gridiron, most recently in 2013 with the infamous Kick 6 game. It's Auburn, it's Alabama. That means we've got to call Paul Finebaum, that is joining us here on SportsCenter. And Paul, this has always been an iconic rivalry in football. However, how much does it mean to see basketball take center stage with these two teams?
You can't say enough that I never thought I would live to see this day. I covered sports in that state, for more than 30 years, and you know the history. So this is really one of the most amazing moments in time, but it shouldn't be that surprising if you think about it. Auburn went to the Final Four in basketball in 2019. Alabama was there last year. But what makes this so unique is the fact that the football teams aren't that good anymore. Auburn football has had 4 straight losing seasons. Alabama just completed its worst season in 17 years. And I talked to Nate Oates last night in Tuscaloosa. And where was he? Was he preparing? Was he out with the students? No, he was at his daughter's soccer game.
I saw you while we were doing that segment, just laughing and smiling at the Alabama fans out there. You know, if you're taking anybody else, I give you the SEC or the field. Who are you taking to win it all?
You have to go with the SEC right now because, they have more than almost 25% of the field, or they should, a month from today. So I think if you look at it, these are easily the 2 best teams in the country. A couple of other ones, but right now Auburn looks like the best team. Janai Broome has been unbelievable. The other school you have to watch out for is Duke, of course, with Cooper Flagg. But right now, you'd be crazy, and I'm not that crazy, to go against the SEC.
Yeah, no, the SEC is completely dominant right now in basketball. 9 teams in the AP top 25, and Auburn has the second best odds to win the championship, according to ESPN Bet, only behind Duke. Paul Finebaum talking something else but football. Thanks so much, Paul, for the insight.
Thank you.
Most anticipated college basketball game of the season. SEC rivals meet this afternoon as number 1 ranked Auburn visits number 2 Alabama. It's the first AP 1 versus 2 matchup since 2021 and the first time in AP poll history that 2 SEC teams square off as 1 and 2. It is the 6th time in poll history that a 1 against 2 matchup is between 2 schools from the same state. Has not happened since Memphis and Tennessee met in 2008. Each of the previous 5 times the number 2 ranked team did win. And ironically enough, Auburn coach Bruce Pearl was the Volunteers head coach when they beat Memphis back in 2008. And should the Tigers win today, he would become the first head coach in AP poll history to win multiple 1 versus 2 matchups on the road. There he is, Jay Bilas in Tuscaloosa, joining us ahead of this headline matchup. Good morning to you, Jay. I can hear the crowd very loud behind you. Look, Alabama's 2 guys, Mark Sears and Auburn's Janai Broome, are part of a wooden watch list, short list. What are you going to eye from both of them today in this blockbuster matchup?
Well, they are both outstanding players and both Player of the Year candidates, and they're both left-handed. And both of their opposing coaches want to keep them going to their right because they're so good going left. But Mark Sears is basically what I would call the Jalen Brunson of the Alabama Crimson Tide. He does so much for this Alabama team. He's their leading scorer. He gets to the foul line, gets into the paint and make plays, and he finishes at the basket. And Janai Broome is having as good a year as any player in the country. He and Cooper Flagg of Duke, I think it's right now a 2-horse race for National Player of the Year. And he's a bucket getter. When you need a basket, you can just throw it into Broome, and he can go score, get fouled, or both.
Yeah, look, these 2 teams are so dominant. A big reason why is those 2 guys. Auburn and Alabama are part of a projected 14 SEC teams that are projected to make the NCAA tournament, according to our own Joe Lunardi. How has this conference become so dominant, specifically in college basketball?
You know, it's a great question. I think about 7-8 years ago, the Southeastern Conference, after only getting 3 teams in the tournament for a couple years in a row, decided to make a real commitment to basketball. They upgraded scheduling. They made really intelligent coaching hires. And as a result, they've attracted better players. And right now, this is the best conference relative to the field, top to bottom, that there's ever been in college basketball. The best there's ever been. Now, right now, people are projecting 13, 14 teams. That may be a little aggressive as to when we get to the end of the season. But the idea that any conference could even have 14 teams considered at this point in the season is just mind-boggling. And what the SEC did in the non-conference is carried into the conference season. So you've got teams that are going to be under 500 in the league that are going to be right around the top 25 as far as their strength is concerned. Now, how they do in the tournament, people are going to look back and say, if they don't perform in the tournament, the league wasn't as good. I don't look at it that way. But this is as strong a conference as we've ever seen, top to bottom.
Yeah, and it's not just men's college basketball. Same thing with the ladies. I believe there's 9 teams from the SEC projected to go to their tournament, so that's interesting as well. Auburn and Alabama, 4 Eastern on ESPN. Jay Bilas is going to get us ready for it in just a little bit. Thanks, Jay. We appreciate it.